What's up everybody, Jordan here. Today I have the Shanren speed and cadence sensors and I'm going to be putting them to the test to see if they are worth purchasing. Now I'm going to be unboxing, looking at the product specification, how you connect them with Bluetooth and ANT+ to see how accurate they actually are. As well as that, I also have a second pair that I'm going to be giving away completely free to a subscriber, so stay tuned to the end to see how to enter and be in with a chance of winning. As always, I don't want to waste anyone's time, so I've left timestamps so that you can jump to the part of the video that best suits you. So let's get them out of the box and get straight into it. So let's get them out of the box. Now it's pretty simple packaging, to be honest. This is the speed sensor. We've got the actual sensor itself, which is pretty small, to be honest. And we also have two little bands, which are slightly different sizes, so you can choose which one you need to put that on your hub. Now we have the cadence sensor. This one's in a bag. And in here we have the same. We have the actual sensor itself, and then we have two bands which we will use, which again are different lengths depending on your crank arm size. So let's take a look at the product details. Now we have both of the sensors here, and this one is the speed one. And as you can see, it actually has speed written on the back. So don't get them confused, right? Because it's easily done. And once it's on the bike, you can't change them around. One is speed, one is cadence. Now the speed sensor is Bluetooth 5.0 and ANT+ compatible. And they have a claimed 250-hour battery life. So a pretty long time, to be honest. Now the cadence sensor, on the other hand, is Bluetooth 4.0 compatible. Now 4.0 is slower and it can't transfer as much data. So the speed sensor, I assume, needs to be 5.0 so it can transfer more data quicker, essentially, and it would have been overkill on the cadence sensor. That's my theory anyway. Now this has a claimed 365-day battery life if you use it for 1 hour a day, so I'm guessing that's 365 hours worth of battery life. Now both of the sensors are IP67 waterproof rated. What that means is they will not let any dust in whatsoever, and they are waterproof tested, and that test is being submerged in water for a maximum of 30 minutes. So you would hope that nothing's going to get inside these. Now let's take a quick look at the product weight. So this is the speed sensor, 8 grams, and the cadence sensor as well is 8 grams. So absolutely nothing whatsoever. Now let's take a look at the installation. Now this is similar for all speed and cadence sensors. Now the speed sensor is going to go on the rear hub, and the cadence sensor is going to go onto your crank arm. Now the way this works is you use the bands that are provided, and this band basically hooks onto one side and hooks round the hub or the crank arm and reconnects to the sensor. So firstly, make sure you have the correct sensor. I'm going to start with the cadence sensor, which is going to go onto the crank arm. Now with the cadence sensor, what you want to do is put it on the left hand crank arm. So as you're sat on the bike, the left hand side. This is because the drive chain is on the right hand side, which has a lot more going on. So there's more space on the left and it's a bit cleaner. So on the left hand side, what you want to do is put the cadence sensor on the inside of your crank arm. Now once you have it on the inside, you simply hook the band around the edge of one side. And then what you're going to do is reach that band around, pull that band around tight. It has a little tab on it. So pull it round so that it goes round your crank arm. And then you want to connect it to the other side of the cadence sensor. Now bear in mind there are two bands present that come in the packaging, so make sure you choose the right band. One is bigger than the other, so if you have a thicker crank arm, use the bigger one, and a smaller one, use a smaller one. You want it to be nice and secure. You don't want any movement. Next up, the speed sensor. Now this is going to go around your rear wheel. I'm guessing it may be able to go around your front wheel, but I've always put it around the rear wheel myself. Now it's quite a fiddly little process to get your hands in between the spokes, but you want to do exactly the same thing. You want to get the sensor so that it is laying flat on the hub. Then you want to hook the band onto one side of the speed sensor. Now when you've done that, try and hold it in place and then pull the band around the hub and then connect it again on the other side of the speed sensor. It can take a little bit of fiddling, but look at your wheel as well, because some of the spokes have a bigger gap, so use those bigger gaps to get your hand in and make sure you get that band on nice and tight so that the sensor cannot move. Now I want to point out as well that these speed and cadence sensors don't have a rubber protector on the bottom to protect your hub and your crank arm. Other speed and cadence sensors that I've used do have that, and some of them also have a curve so it sits flatter on the hub. But just a little note, but it doesn't stop you installing these. So take that as you will. Next up, connectivity. Let's see how the Shanren speed and cadence sensors connect via Bluetooth and via ANT+. Before we dive into it though, 2 important points. Number 1, the sensors need to be moving in order to be awake, if you like. So if you just put them on your bike and try and connect them, it's not going to work. You need to be pedaling so that the speed and cadence sensors both have a chance to wake up, and then you can connect them. It's a common mistake that people make, is just trying to connect them straight away without actually being on the bike and pedaling. Next up, when you are connected via Bluetooth, you can only connect the speed or the cadence sensor to one device. So if these are connected to your GPS and then you try and connect them to something like Zwift or another GPS, a friend's GPS, it won't work. You need to disconnect them from one and then reconnect them to the other. So let's start by connecting via ANT+. Now ANT+ I find has a more reliable connection, and it's what I would normally use. So I'm going to be connecting them to my GPS. Now to connect them to the GPS, what I want to do is hop on the bike, start pedaling, and this is going to wake up the speed and cadence sensors. Once they are awake, I can hop onto the GPS settings, and within the settings, I want to search for the speed and cadence sensors. Now, once you're searching for the speed sensor, give it a little bit of time and hopefully it should pop up on screen that the speed sensor has been connected. Now, once that's done, you're good to go. The speed will now be reporting, and we can do the same thing with the cadence sensor. So again, search for the cadence sensor and then wait a little bit of time and your cadence sensor should connect. Now from experience, if this takes more than 15 seconds or so, there may be something wrong. Now once they're connected with ANT+, that's it, good to go. Go and ride, the world is your oyster. But for me, what I'm gonna do is try and do the exact same thing with Bluetooth to make sure that they can connect as well with Bluetooth. Now for Bluetooth, I'm gonna be using my iPad, and the reason is iPads only have Bluetooth. They don't have ANT+, so this is a way to force to connect with Bluetooth. Firstly, never go into the settings and try and connect your devices in the Bluetooth settings. That's not how this works. You will not find them, it will not pick it up. You have to go into the app that you are using. In my case, I'm using Zwift, and you have to search for your sensors there. Now, what you do is simply load the app up, and with Zwift, it needs the sensors. So it's gonna go to the sensors screen. Now you can do the same thing and search for the speed and cadence sensors. In this case, it's going to try and do it all at once. You can see Bluetooth is active because in the top left, the Bluetooth icon is pulsing. So what you can do is click and search, and then when the devices are found, you can simply click and select them. Now, once selected, hopefully that shouldn't take too long, 15 seconds or so, they are good to go, and you can pedal and you should see that the sensor is reporting the speed and the cadence. Now, connecting your devices is one of those things. It can be really straightforward and happen instantly. It can have a little bit of troubleshooting, but do stay with it. And if it doesn't work straight away, try it multiple times and make sure that whatever you're connecting to is actually close to the speed and cadence sensors. You don't want to be meters away. So if you're connecting on your iPad, make sure your iPad is close. So I am out and about on the road test with these Shanren speed and cadence sensors. The main thing I want to do is see if there's any dropouts. So I've got one eye on the GPS, looking at the speed and looking at the cadence and making sure they're consistent. So far, it seems okay, but what I'll do is when we get back to the house, I will upload the ride to Strava and we'll have a look and see if there's anything that seems a bit suspect. So all in all, pretty good. I'm going to push the pedal some more, get a couple more miles in and then see where we're at. No issue so far, still got signal, all good. So I am back from the ride. It was a nice little outing, and I must admit, no dropouts, it seems, from the speed and cadence sensors. Now what I've done is I've uploaded my ride to Strava so we can take a better look at the data. So here you go, you can see this is the ride essentially, so we can kind of scroll across and we can see what's going on. On the left hand side we've got speed and we've got cadence here as well. So we can see the cadence is up and down, and that's because you're freewheeling, for example, so your cadence will drop. And you can see the speed where it keeps consistent or is dropped. that's because you're stopped basically. If the speed goes down, it's because you're stopped. So where the speed drops, you would expect the cadence to drop as well. And when the speed really increases up here, for example, that's because we're probably going downhill. So I'm freewheeling again. But overall, we can see these are the sort of sections we want to look at where we can see that the speed remained consistent. Let's click and drag and look at that. And you can see that the cadence also remained consistent. So as the speed in the top right, for example, 15, 16, 17, the cadence was consistent as well, which is what we want. I've had a look through already. There doesn't seem like there was any dropouts. So overall, nothing out of the ordinary. These Shanren speed and cadence sensors done really, really well. Competition time. Now I said at the start of the video I was going to give away a speed and a cadence sensor to one lucky subscriber, and I am true to my word. So to enter the competition, all you need to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. Anything you like, make it funny. After a week or two, I will pick a winner at random, and these will be sent straight to you, ready for the summer, so you can tackle the open road. And I will see you in the next one.